and thoughtful reflections to create a value-based human and sustainable future for all of us. Throughout these days of the conference, the eagerness among all the presenters and the participants were really very impressive and encouraging. It has been an honor for me also to be a part of this delightful conference. The end of the story is the new beginning for many things. On this note, let's conclude a remarkable, memorable, and a knowledgeable session. But before this, I would like to call upon DIAS, PhD third year research scholar Manish Atri for the reporter's report, a summary of the presentation and the discussion during the 3 days of the conference. Over to you.
Thank you, Shobhan. Very warm good afternoon to everyone present here. I, Manish Atri, on behalf of IIM Shillong, extend my regards to one and all who have taken out the time to attend the valedictory session. So I would also like to convey many congratulations also to those who are still on the crease in 19th over of the 2020 match. 9th International Conference on Sustainability is about to end. And I always feel proud to mention this as our flagship conference of IIM Shillong. At this conference, we have received about 150 papers and finally came up with the 36 quality papers. We had 47 participants who have attended this conference offline and 1 international participant attended online. This was the first SusCon hosted offline at our IIM Shillong new campus. We had GAIL, the Gas Authority of India Limited, and State Bank of India as our conference partner. We had Center for Bhutan Studies and GNH, Council for Energy, Environment and Water, and European SPES Institute as our knowledge partner. We had Springer Nature as our publication partner. We had 36 papers distributed on 7 technical sessions having 6 different themes. The conference started on 3rd November, but trust me, the preparation started way before it. On the first day of the conference, we had Padma Bhushan, Dr. Mrityunjay Atreya as our chief guest, Sri Dashakarma Ura from Center of Bhutan Studies and GLH as our guest of honor, and Dr. Vibhav Kumar Talukdar as our special guest. We had Professor Abdul Razak, Professor Laszlo Zorny, and Professor O. Daniel Jacobson for the keynote address on different aspects of sustainability. On the day 2 of the conference, we had 4 technical sessions. Dr. Arunabha Ghosh, CEO of Council of Energy, Environment and Water, Mr. Somit Vishwas from GAIL India, and Ms. Nupur Singh from Springer Nature also addressed the conference. We also had Hotel Haga as our host for the conference and network dinner. On the 3rd day, we had 1 technical session having 10 papers under the theme Transforming Work and Life for Sustainable Future. We were supposed to have the officials of SBI as our chief guest in the valedictory session, but due to some unavoidable circumstances, they could not be able to attend this session. So now, this is the high time to take action to include sustainability in our lifestyle. On this note, I would like to end this report by quoting 2 lines from of Dr. Nadeem Shah. हर कदम पे जो सोचेंगे थक जाएंगे, हर कदम पे जो सोचेंगे थक जाएंगे, जो न सोचेंगे वो दूर तक जाएंगे. Thank you.
Thank you, Manish. I would like to call upon DIAS Professor Sanjay Mukherjee sir for sharing his journey so far.
Well, friends, first of all, a big thank you to all of you for being with us all these 3 days. The conference ends, but does it end? The event ends, but the movement continues. The movement continues, it grows, it expands, it empowers itself, and as it has been doing for the last 12 years. This is the 9th one. SusCon we are having, and my mind goes back to 2010 when we had our first SusCon. And there was Mary Gentry from Harvard, then there was Dr. Sundarlal Bahunaji inaugurating the conference. 2013, Dr. Kalam came, along with him came Peter Cruzen as a guest of honor for the inaugural. A lot of memories come back. I remember the initial enthusiasm and the dynamism by our former professor, Sohan Majumdar. I remember deeply, profoundly, and with some amount of pain, Professor Dr. Tapas Giri, who was constantly involved in SusCon, committed to the cause, but he's no more with us. He was a victim of cancer, passed away in 2020, I think, 2020, 17th of February. So all these memories come back to us. We had initial dynamism again from first director, but then acting director Kyasa Gupta, then Amitabh Dey, and now Professor Goel. So that the parampara continues, and the movement continues, and you become part of the movement now, the participants, and you will be the ambassadors of SusCon in whatever capacity you can. We do not believe in publicizing much. We do whatever we can, but we don't make it all claims and false promises. But we make our humble effort to the extent possible, sincerely. We are not located in a metro city like Calcutta or Delhi or Bombay, where I know it's very difficult. It's not so easy to come to Shillong, keeping all our other engagements intact. But still, people do come and participate in this movement. That is how it's going on. No other IIM has done it continuously for 12 years, a movement. There have been sporadic incidents of events like SusCon sustainability conferences. There was SusBus for 1 year in IIM Calcutta, something like that in IIM Lucknow also, but no other IIM has been committed to it and continued it. We are people who are in, my colleagues, my co-crusaders, Professor Sanjeev Bhagwati, Professor Achinta Sharma, from day one they were involved in this movement. I'm very grateful to all my committee members, colleagues, esteemed colleagues who had supported immensely this conference and been with us in various capacities. I'm grateful to all the PhD scholars here who have put in their best. They burned a lot of midnight oil to make this conference, to make this movement reality, success. Well, friends, the challenges that we have now, even now, going forward will be taken up by my friend Professor Kahuti. But I would like to mention one thing. My friend Mangu is not here. He said, please don't mention Tagore anymore. We have been doing that, so I won't mention Tagore this time. He said, we are tired of Tagore. And I'm not tired of Tagore. But I spoke about raising questions, asking questions is more important than rushing for the quick, easy answers. Rushing for immediate techno-economic or techno-financial solutions immediately. So, since we are coming to a close, let's have a note of humor. This was a conference that we held in IIM Calcutta about 15 years back or so. East-West synthesis in management. There were 200 academics and practitioners from all over the world who came and attended that. Professor Dr. S.K. Chakraborty, whom I mentioned about quite a few number of times during this conference, was chairing. I was his associate. So one of the professors who came from Australia, Indian, but he's still living in Australia. He helps us a lot. Professor Samir Ranjan Chatterjee. He gave us this, story. Bill Clinton has come to India. Here's a story. Bill Clinton has come to India and he wants a closed-door meeting with our 10th Prime Minister, Dr. Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee. So he's shown some soundproof rooms in the Prime Minister's office, but he's not happy. He said, no, we need complete seclusion. So I suggest Prime Minister, sir, let's fly in a balloon. Balloon? Vajpayee was nervy. Yes, balloon. American technology made foolproof. And Bill Clinton had the power to convince him. No, I have met him personally. I know how charming and how convincing he can be. So he said, don't worry, you can come with me, please. And he prevailed upon him, and with a lot of trepidation, Vajpayee already had some knee problems that time, he walked in. The balloon was remote controlled from the ground, and the balloon had a sensor inside it showed to where they were flying. The balloon started off. After some time, the conversation becomes very intense because a lot of critical issues, Gulf War, oil crisis, Indo-Pakistan border issues, getting animated, the conversation. Suddenly, they find that the sensor inside the balloon, which showed them where they were flying, was not working. Vajpayee stopped the conversation. Said, no, I cannot carry on like this. I'm scared. The balloon might hit the Himalayas. Where will it go? Clinton is never nervous, never anxious, always smooth and soft. So what do you want to know? You want to find out where we are flying? I'll find out for you, don't worry. So he looks down, and a man is walking down the road with a black suit and an umbrella and a briefcase. And Clinton shouts from the dark, hello, hello, hello. And the man looks, yes, sir. Clinton shouts back, can you tell us where are we? Can you tell us where are we? The man immediately answers, shouts, sir, you're in a balloon. And Mr. Clinton said, sorry, Prime Minister, we have to ask someone else. You cannot trust him. Why? Because don't tell the others. Because he's a management professor. You wake up. The three criteria. One, please listen very carefully. One, quick solutions. Immediate answers. Quick solutions. Two, technically correct. They are in the balloon. Three, completely irrelevant. So that is another way we introduce ourselves. The Samir Ranjan Chatterjee was given a standing ovation applause in that seminarium hall where there were 200 people from all over the world attending that conference. So quick solutions and rushing for answers is something we have to avoid in our journey through sustainability. So for that, it's very important to keep our eyes and ears open. Yes, I won't talk about Tagore, but I'll mention about another Nobel laureate. His famous song, Bob Dylan had asked 9 questions, It begins with, how many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? There are 9 questions. And he also didn't give any answer, but he gave an assurance to you that the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. So in order to receive that signal, in order to find the answer, we have to keep our eyes and ears open, alert, which is very difficult these days. We talk about mindfulness, madam. We also do. But what do I see? I suddenly go back in memory to my college days when I saw first time Charlie Chaplin's Modern Times. If you remember the first scene, from a factory gate opens and a whole hundreds of sheep coming out. Hundreds of sheep coming out, rushing out. And the second scene, from the same factory gate, hundreds of workers rushing out. And when I look at the classrooms today in IIM, not IIM Shillong, or any educational institution, class ends, the whole class comes out. You say, eyes and ears open. Eyes and ears are where? Running down the staircase, hundreds of students. How will you see? Just imagine, how will you see? How will you receive the signals? Shillong is a beautiful place. Look at the mountain, look at the sky, look at the person beside you. How do I see? Important. It is important, I know. But you have to use your discretion. with, the word we used today was consciousness, right? So many of us use the word consciousness. Consciously use it. Otherwise, you won't receive the signals. We will miss the signals. We will miss the, caution words we had been trying to spell out during this conference, and we've been rushing for our answers. So let us take it as a tryst, not just as an agenda, but as a tryst, as a passion, as a commitment to keep our eyes and ears, our sense organs alert, open, at least for some time during the day, that we receive the signals. Okay. Technology, get no stress. Where is Dr. Shaheen? Yes. Was talking about. Yes. We have to be aware of it, conscious of it. The only thing, one of the most maligned and most misinterpreted spiritual genius the world produced, my opinion, was a man named Osho. I have extensively read his writings. He gave a one-line definition of sin. One line, sin. What is sin? There is only one sin. I quote him. There is only one sin, and that is lapse of consciousness. Quote, unquote, Osho. I've never found a better definition of sin. Right. So let us be conscious, aware, and go ahead in this journey. How do you go ahead? My friend, Professor Kapudi, please. Thank you very much. And give it a
Thank you very much. I take up from that balloon. Actually, he was very charitable. Vajpayee started his knee trouble after that. Crash landed. And they had to bring in a doctor to replace his knees from the USA. The doctor was. So we have produced the best of minds, but I'm not quite sure whether we have used the best of minds to shape our country. We've talked about leadership since morning, and by default, leadership has been used to mean political leadership. Political leadership is just one aspect of leadership. There are other kinds of leadership. We've talked about educational leadership, we've talked about social leadership, we've talked about community leadership, but those leadership are never really discussed. We always think that leadership, and by default, again, we allow all decisions to be taken by the political leadership without a voice of dissent. And that becomes the problem. Now, Sanjay was telling me that I'm going to talk about the way forward. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what is the way forward. I have absolutely no idea what is our next step. Have another conference next year? That's hardly the way forward. Bring about a change in the way we think? Yes, that could be one. Where do we start? With you or with ourselves? It's got to be ourselves, right? So we decided that sustainability for most institutions, for most people, is one area of study. It is a domain. So sustainability conference means Laurel and Hardy. That's the way it has been for the last 9 years. So should we extend it? So our institute is divided into areas. So we came upon a policy decision that sustainability does not exist anymore as an area. So it was sustainability and liberal studies. Now it has been rechristened as strategy and liberal studies, which means sustainability is a part of every area. Take it or leave it. Take it, good for the world. Leave it, bad for your kids. I don't know whether people are going to take it, but the question is, do we have an option? Does sustainability have an option anymore? We have exceeded the limits set upon us for growth many times over. It's divided into different parameters. In most parameters, we are either exceeding or we have exceeded the limits. We cannot continue like this anymore. There is something known as the peak oil. We are extracting oil. I mean, the entire world is running on fuel, energy. And that is coming from coal and oil and stuff like that, non-renewable. So there is something called a peak oil. And after that, you cannot increase production anymore. It plateaus and then it comes down. We are actually on the downward slide. Petrol oil has come in, reduced that for a while, but for how much longer? We are staring at an imminent collapse of world economies in the next decade. I don't even think it's going to take a decade. Are we prepared for it? No. There is a patch in the Pacific known as the Pacific patch. It's made up of plastic. Huge. Bigger than most countries of Europe. And it's growing every day. The other day, there was a very, very disturbing report that it's become common to find plastic particulate in breast milk. The babies have done no crime, but you're feeding them on plastic. So if this is not a crisis situation, I don't know what is. Now, we can't go on living the life that we are living and hoping to bring about a sustainable future. It's not going to work. It's going to call for a radical change in our thought process. I'm happy that we're talking about philosophy so much. Happy that we're talking about changes in behavior. Is only a change in behavior help? Or a radical shift in behavior? We're talking about making organizations human. Do we even need to talk about organizations being human? Aren't they by default supposed to be human? What are we supposed to do? He was very, very mild in saying that people rushing out from one classroom to the other, but he prefaced it with Charlie Chaplin. That famous image. Are we producing sheep in our institutions? I'm sorry for the students. Maybe we are. Because we do not promote thinking, critical thinking. Probably we do not want critical thinking. Because it's easier to control a society that does not engage in critical thinking. Every dissent is supposed to be snuffed out. So this time around, we decided that the onus of taking this forward does not rest with any one individual, any one institution, any one department, nothing. So we thought, let us tell you how serious the problem is. And so we shared a book with all of you. And I can guarantee you that post reading this book, not only will you lose your sleep, you will look at the world from a different perspective. I just request you, take the time to read it. Reading has become something that's not being carried on so far. Now, this conference was truly an effort of collaboration, compassion, and procreation. If you did not have the support of the PhD scholars, no way this conference would have happened. If you did not get the support of our colleagues, each other, yes, there were times when we were angry with each other, we were frustrated with each other, we were frustrated with ourselves. What helped? Compassion. And we collaborated, we co-created. Like I was saying, at 10 o'clock in the night, the support staff, they are putting up the flowers. And probably they don't even know what the word sustainability means. It's an example of collaboration. The kind of response that all of you gave, the number of papers that were accepted were maybe 1/3 of all the papers that came in. Not that the other papers were of any lesser quality, but probably they didn't adhere to the theme. They were technically not put across correctly. So it is not a reflection on the quality of the papers that the papers were not accepted. But yes, the papers that were accepted were of exceptionally high quality, that we must say. And but yes, there's always a caveat. As a teacher, you can never say that this is perfect. It can always be made better. So we have this provision of publishing select papers. I'm not saying that all the papers that were presented here would be selected, and there are some authors who would much prefer to publish it in a journal than in a book. But this is a scopus in this book by stranger nature, so it's got its own charm. But there are other pressures of being in a job. You need that many publications. It's become a tick box world, no? Where quality is allowed to slip by when we think of quantity. So those of you who are interested in publishing in the book that's going to come out are requested to contact us. From those papers that would come in, full papers would be required. It would go through a process of peer review again. You may be asked to re-edit or make certain changes. But please don't feel disheartened if particular paper that you think needs to find acceptance does not find acceptance, because we'll be limited by space, and we'll also be limited by the decisions of 5 co-editors could be drawn from all over the world. So sometimes some co-editor might be cranky. They may say that this is not good enough. I think this is good enough, and so all those issues would come up. So what would be the way forward? Like I said, I really don't know. What would be our future be? I don't know. But we have a school principal of 25 years continuing. If hope lies somewhere, it lies in the schools. So you've got to make it happen. We are trying our best. I don't know how far we are succeeding. Kids who come in and join an MBA are essentially out looking for their placements. That's the rule of the game. They come in with a high loan amount. So they need to repay it. It's become a vicious cycle. I will end with a sobering thought at the end, that we have already exceeded our planetary boundaries many times over. So unless we reverse, we are in for disaster. No doubt about it. The other major problem which is going to stoke revolutions all around the world, we are somehow managing to keep it down, is the inequality of resource distribution. At this point of time, 10% of the world population control 90% of its resources, and 90% of the people have 10% of its resources. This cannot continue. Because in nature, vacuum does not exist. There is no vacuum. Something or the other fills it up. So how long will you continue to put down people who do not have food to eat or jobs to work on? And the exigencies of climate change are only making things worse and worse and worse. So somebody needs to stand up and say that I don't accept. So there's this colleague of ours, Paranjay Guha Thakuta. I don't know how many of you have heard of him. So Paranjay has written a lot of books, and one of his books was called The Gas Wars. And in The Gas Wars, he lambasts the Reliance and the Ambanis in a book. It's almost 500 pages. And the Ambanis serve him a court notice for a couple of $1 billion. He laughs at it and says, I never knew I was worth so much. Now, after that, he's been talking up front about corporate colonialism in a way that puts the shivers down my back, because he's a frail man, much older than me, who has a breathing problem, walk a few steps up and he starts wheezing, and he's standing up and fighting some of the biggest names in the world today. I said, how do you do it? I've not been able to gather the courage to be like him. And he says, I do it on one belief. And that belief is that as long as one person stands up and says, I don't agree. All it needs is one person to stand up and say, I don't agree. That system fails. So no matter what people are trying to do, all that we need is one person standing up and saying, I don't agree. So since Dada told you a story, I think I should match him. Not that I'll be able to match him ever. His knowledge is too vast. No harm trying telling a story. So there was this walk in the seashore, and this couple was walking, and they could see a figure in the distance. The sea, the waves coming, and a figure in the distance, bending down, picking up something and throwing it to the water. And they were very curious. I mean, this went on for a long time. So what is it that this person was picking up, looking at it, and throwing it into the water? So when they came near, they found that because of some tidal wave, thousands and thousands of small fish had been washed ashore. And they were stranded. They couldn't go back to the water. And if left stranded, they would all die. So he was looking at the sea fish, seeing it, throwing it back to the water. But there are thousands of them. It's the entire shore is littered with fish. And this guy is picking up one at a time and throwing it to the water. So this couple comes and asks him, what difference will it make? One fish at a time, thousands of them. So he picks up another one, looks at it, throws it into the water, and he says, for this one, it does. For this one, it does. So what happens is sustainability is something which is not yet fashionable, but we need to carry on. We need to talk about it, and I'm so happy that so many dimensions of sustainability were talked about in this 3 days. Amazing. Starting from traditional knowledge to HR practices to technology to you name it, you have it. So here's a coalition of minds that can probably make that huge difference. Can we use technology to keep in touch? Can we use technology to take the next step? These are questions. As a part of our gratefulness to the PhD scholars, I invited Manish to be here, but I didn't invite him to come and sit. I invited him for some work again. So he would be announcing out the names of the PhD scholars who are present here. And me and Sanjay Dada, we would like to give them a copy of the book that we have given to all the paper presenters. So,
I would like to call Samsung. Samsung, fourth year research scholar. Aditya, fourth year research scholar.
Hey, football.
तरुण कहाँ गया? Tanjam Aditya, fourth year research scholar. अरे तरुण कहाँ गया?
Hey,
Sarit Vishwas, fourth year research scholar. Pavan Ashok Kandle, third year research scholar. Varun D. Raj, second year research scholar.
The elements of nature, we have Varun Pawan with us.
Vishal Tyagi, second year research scholar. Mohammad Wasil M, second year research scholar. Shobhana Krishna, first year research scholar. Ronak Bandyopadhyay, first year research scholar. Divyansh Paliwal, first year research scholar. Shudhamsu Shekhar, first year research scholar. Four or five research scholars not here, so
You can give it to me.
Whatever, Manish.
So, Manish Akriya,
Manish Shastri.
Siva.
Just take 1 minute.
Sure, please.
One more thought just came while sitting here. When we were looking at the theme, I was wondering what would be a theme next. It may not be the theme next, but the thought theme. Collaboration to live, co-creation to learn. And what will be the middle one? To come to it, a quick anecdote. I was in first year IIM Calcutta, 1987. Weekends I used to come back home. Sunday morning I used to meet our friends in Calcutta in street corner addas. So one day I was wearing an IIM Calcutta t-shirt and giving adda and telling them what I was learning in IIM that time about learning, theories of learning, cognitive learning, experiential learning, blah, blah, blah. Big lecture I was giving. Those lectures of Gaurav Chattopadhyay, Reena Chatterjee, those proverbial professors. Passing by was a typical Sunday morning Calcuttan, white kurta, blue jeans, long hair, handsome, and beard with a chola here. He said, "What are you lecturing?" "Oh, you're from IIM. So what are you lecturing?" So we're talking about learning. We asked, "What is learning? Can you tell me simply?" I started again giving theories of learning. Simply tell me what is learning. I fumbled and I asked him, "What is it?" These are the 5 letters, A-B-A-R-N, right? You separate the first one. Rest is E-I-N, earn. It is earn. You earn a lot of knowledge. You earn a lot of things. Money, fame. But it's the L that makes a difference. What is that L? He brings out from his chola a piece of paper and writes L-O-V-E. I was stunned. Management, learning, love. Much later in life, I understood that yes, if you learn with love, that is learning. If you earn with love, that is learning. If you earn hajar knowledge, but without love, that is anything else. A lot of earning, but not learning. So live, love, learn. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Without you and Sanjeev sir support, the event would not have been possible. Next, I would like to call upon Dais Professor Vishakha Bansal ma'am for a vote of thanks.
So after hearing such beautiful words and words of years of experience, it's time to propose the vote of thanks. So respected chairs, Professor Sanjeev Kakoti and Professor Sanjay Mukherjee, and dear one and all present, a very good afternoon. As we have now approached towards the successful end of SusCon 9, although end is always sounds to be depressive, but every end leads to a new beginning. So from that angle, it is my pleasure to propose the vote of thanks. Now during these 2.5 days, we have witnessed intense and interesting discussions on sustainability across various disciplines. It was interesting to see that how presenters from each different discipline are focusing and making an effort to study and guide organizational efforts to promote actions leading to growth of sustainable India and the world. I would like to start with thanking our chief guest and guest of honors for being a part of this conference. Conference partners GAIL and SBI, knowledge partners Center for Bhutan Studies and GNH, Council for Energy, Environment and Water, and European SPS Institute. Publication partners Springer Nature, keynote speakers for their contributions, and of course, most important, the enthusiastic participation from our presenters. The successful conference event would not have been possible without the relentless efforts of IIM Shillong fraternity. I would like to start with thanking our director, Professor D.P. Goyal, for his continuous support and guidance. I would like to thank, any thanks is actually less, to Professor Sanjeev Kakoti and Professor Sanjay Mukherjee for their very enriching guidance, their leadership efforts, working till the very last moment, till now in fact. Further, I would like to thank the faculty of IIM Shillong for their support, the research committee of the institute for their support, all the conference committee members for their contribution in various capacities, Mr. Imago for overall coordination, and of course, not to forget our PhD scholars for their indispensable contribution of efficiently coordinating and bringing this conference to what it is. Further, it is very important to mention and thank the administration for various support activities, IT team who played a very important role for all online addresses, our photographers, the caterers for the delicious food and beverages, the housekeeping staff for arranging the comfortable ambience, staff for coordinating transportation, and other staff for various forgotten or not mentioned coordination efforts. Once again, thank you all. I'm looking forward. Hope to see you all again in future. All the best for your endeavors until then. Happy researching. Thank you.
Again, thank you everyone. Hope to see you in the upcoming conferences at the IIM Shillong. We can now move for the lunch that will be served just next to the auditorium. Thank you.